My final product to my original idea came out almost similar. The ident is very similar to my mood board, however I decided to cut out frame 9 due to timing issues. I also chose to leave out frame 1 and 10 because of the timing as well. It was also easier to film the live action footage as 1 and 10 did not take out too much as they were just aesthetics. This did not have a big effect on my ident because I was able to get across what I wanted to show. If I was to do it again though, I would have to re-record it just so I can adjust the timing for the live footage. This would mean I can get the extra frames in of the panning out and panning in and frame 9. The main inspiration for my piece is the following. Both idents follow the same theme using technology to create the E4 logo. However, Haley's is a simple screen with a few options to create the logo. I chose to go for a character creation option for the ident. Another ident that inspired the aesthetics of my work is the following. This gave me the idea of the purple theme of the ident. Rather than just having a plain white background, I chose to add the purple shades across the whole menu. I did this because I wanted to show off the company ident. With the purple, people were able to identify them at first sight without actually having to use the logo. My product fits within the brief that was provided because it is a strong representation of E4. It is appropriate to the brand as it has a constant theme of E4 throughout, and then towards the end a big E4 logo is shown. We were also required to relate to a specific target audience, and with the use of technology in my ident, I think I have definitely targeted those under the age of 30 successfully. This is because a younger audience are more commonly known to be using technology such as iPads. From my research, I know that the audience is mainly a younger audience, so from this I can understand that they will be able to relate to the ident with technology that is used. I think that the most impressive part of the ident is the lining up of the fingers interacting with the screen, and the actual actions on the screen is almost perfect and probably wouldn't need redoing. To do this I used motion tracking to line up the screen with the live footage. There are also many layers to the iPad screen as I made separate images for each component. I also like the smoothness of the animations that are present in the ident. Nothing seems too rough and out of the blue, all parts linked well in together and flow. When rendering I had to check that the RAM was at a good level, just to make sure that I could start the rendering and know if I'd be around for when it ended or if I had to wait. At the start of this unit I had a minimal knowledge of Adobe After Effects. Throughout the unit I have picked up various tips and tricks from asking around the class, asking the teacher, and also learning from tutorials in my spare time. Throughout my ident I used a lot of keyframing. This means that my work is full of interpolation, where the software adjusts the settings to the component for me. A lot of my time was spent playing around with the software, testing my idea to see if it would work out in the way that I had intended. After all this testing I would then start to create the final thing, looking towards timings, etc. The biggest skill that I learnt was using a green screen. I used the key light effect in After Effects and then I could get my screen on the actual screen. I was also able to practice my Illustrator skills when I was making the components for my final piece. However, I am comfortable with Illustrator, so I was able to work through this part of the creation quite quickly. I think that the look of the ident is good. I have followed closely to the theme of E4 with a constant purple tone throughout the whole thing. It helps to identify who the actual brand is straight away. When it came to making the screen itself, I chose to have a fun, softer theme so that it could appeal to a younger audience. Also, it gives out a positive connotation. All of the edges are curved. I tried to stay away from sharp edges as much as possible. If there were sharp edges, then it would have looked very moody and negative. Throughout the unit, I definitely found myself managing my time well. I made sure that during my testing stage, I was aware of the deadlines so that I could leave enough time to allow me to start on the final thing. I had a positive workflow and kept all distractions to a minimum. Because I was working on a software that I was unfamiliar with, I knew that I would have to put more focus in on it than any other unit that I had previously or was doing at the current time. I knew that I had a successful plan because I was able to start work earlier and knew exactly what I was going to make. When planning my work, I created a layout for my iPad screen. I then went on to use this design in my final piece, so it saved me a lot of time in the creation period. I think I could have done more in my paper planning because I had very little amounts of sketches. This was mainly because I had a very basic idea, so it meant I could not sketch out much ideas. The sketches that I had produced, however, showed what I wanted in a very simple way, and then when I moved to the computer I was able to get my point across a lot easier. I mainly chose to do my planning on the computer and move straight into Illustrator, as it was a stronger software for me. I knew what I wanted to make, but I was unsure of how I wanted to look. I could have done a little more research on the aesthetics of what a creation page looks like, however I think that it came out to an acceptable level of what I made. The extra research would have helped me to work quicker. I would be able to progress at a faster rate, as I would have a better idea of what I wanted to achieve at the end of the unit. Majority of the feedback I received was positive. The only negative comment that I received was people talking about the black lines that I left in place. I also had a few people mention that I could have made the E4 logo stay on screen for a bit longer. My final grade comment was
a high quality finished sequence which shows evidence of working with complex motion graphics and compositing video software. You have shown you hold good, strong, solid technical ability and skills. Well done, Dylan. Moving forward, I will try to get rid of the black numbers and shapes that stay on the screen when the screen transitions. It will not affect your mark whether you do this, but when presenting your portfolio it would be best to have a finalized error-free motion graphics video.
The main thing that I would like to improve on my Easting is the black lines that are present throughout. They are not too distracting, but they pull your eyes away from the rest of the screen. I also agree with the feedback that I got from people telling me the E4 logo was not on the screen for long enough. Although it is a good comment, I would then have to re-record for timing purposes. If I had more time, then I would definitely reconsider re-recording the live footage that I used. I found it too shaky, and I would also like to be able to get rid of the black lines, or at least make them less visible. The only reason I could not do this was because of timing. I had a rough idea of how to do it, but I did not have sufficient time to be able to complete this. Another solution would be to learn the actions in which I would take to do this, so then I could just have a plain green screen with no markings on it. They were mainly there to help me know where to click. I think that I would also like to add frames 1, 9 and 10, as well as play around with the timings of the ident and when different parts happen. The end.